going on, everybody? You are live with Osiris. Welcome to the Author's Lounge. The world is filled with storytellers, and I, along with my guests, are here today in the Author's Lounge to help educate and inspire the young generation of writers and creators. Now, my guests are professionals in publishing, writers from a wide range of formats, and successful entertainers. They will provide beneficial advice on what to do and what not to do on your path to success. So, without further ado, I'll present to you our next guest. Let's go. That I have a wonderful guest here who is going to bring her wealth and her knowledge and educate you all and help you all make informed decisions when it comes to self-publishing. Here representing Edge Books is Jenebeth Ortiz. Thank you so much for your time, ma'am.
Yes, well, thank you, Cyrus, and good afternoon, good morning, good evening to everyone. I am very blessed and honored that Cyrus asked me to come on board. I think he has had a lot of guests here that covered, different parts of self-publishing. And so what I would concentrate more is, you've already written your book. You've already formatted it. It's ready. But what do you do with it? And of course, you want it printed. Yes, there are ebooks. That's one medium. But there's something with holding a book and turning the pages. And it's not just reading, but it's like a whole experience. And so that's what I bring is depending on your vision, depending on your financial goals, depending on your publishing plans, I can help you find the best printing solutions. And there's a lot of details on the printing. It's not just, you put the paper on the machine and it prints. There's a lot of components, and sometimes it could be overwhelming for self-published authors, even those that are all experienced and have published a lot of books. So, first of all, let me introduce myself. I am, I would consider myself more of a print management consultant. And what does that mean? What that means is that I will be there for you, holding your hands every step of the way. I will understand your vision and your goals so that we can come up with the best printing solutions. And number three is I will partner with you. Whether that is as little as, hey, I'm ready, I just need really to print the book. I'll be there for you. And I'll make sure that you get the most cost effective pricing, but at the same time, not sacrificing the quality. And then lastly is I represent big commercial printers here in the US, as well as overseas, and then the little boutique family owned printing companies. So I have a wide range of capabilities that, depending on what you want to accomplish, I have access to it.
Oh, I want to point out something as well that I think distinguishes you from many other platforms that utilize something similar, right? And that is board books. So there's many authors who write in the children's, niche, children's
Mhm.
books, and that require or want something that is either reminiscent to a board book or a board book itself. And I know for me, for years, I had been looking, and of course, I didn't look hard enough, but I thought that I did. And mine went elsewhere, my mind wasn't specifically focused primarily on that. But when it was, I was running into some troubles. But I eventually, spoke to my buddy. I reached out to Dale Roberts, and then I reached out to Julie Broad, and both recommended no Dale recommended Julie, and he recommended April Cox, and I reached out to both, and Julie had recommended, she actually referred me back to Dale, and then I went to April, and then April referred me to you, and then I think we've been talking since November or December timeframe. I
Right.
can't remember, but I think the importance of pinpointing, or at least talking about a little bit on board books is really substantial because as an author who does children's books, especially with the youth, specifically like
Mhm.
0 to 2,
Mhm.
not wanting to one of your kids to not at least experience paper cuts, at least until I mean
Yes.
they're going to, but I know
Mhm.
that's a huge component on like their growth and their development. You want to teach them the process of how to read at such a pretty much right out the gate. I know for us, we would read to our children all the time. Just that we had story night at least 6 days out of the week, maybe
Yeah.
seven,
Mhm.
depending on if we weren't tired or not. But board books, when we introduced it to them, I think our children they were one piece, and them being able to experience that, and I mean they were chewing it but experience it and turning it and feeling it on their fingers without us having a concern at such a young delicate age of them getting their hands cut. And authors run into that issue if they're doing children's book and they primarily just go through Amazon or maybe Barnes and Noble Press or Ingram Spark, and they just don't have that option. So if you could please explain briefly, or maybe just explain it all together, what that process looks like of people coming to you requesting a board book.
So, the I'll give you the bad news and the good news, right? The bad news is there's only one manufacturer of board book in the United States, and they're pretty much book. So, in order to get to them, you're looking at big volume.
Hmm.
Board books are typically produced overseas. And I do have, unfortunately, I do not have a sample because I brought some samples to show you, but I don't have a sample of board books with me right now. But I've printed board books in China and in India.
Hmm.
And the way I work is I represent them. So I'm not a middleman for you.
Hmm.
So in terms of price, in terms of, the going back and forth, I do that all for you. In terms of logistics, I do that all for you.
Hmm.
And I have very happy customers that really are happy with the quality because for me is the children's book market is very crowded.
Yes.
So what I try to do is make sure that your book stands out,
Hmm.
right? And again, I don't mean I don't want to say anything bad about Ingram and Amazon because there's a place for that for
Right.
some authors, right? For most authors, there's a place for them. However, if you're really looking for high quality books,
Hmm.
then that's not the place.
Hmm.
And that's what I offer. One of the things that we've done at Jostens is that it's not a board book, but what we did, and this is an example, but what we did is because we're one of the few printers that do smite sewing, and
Hmm.
that makes the book sturdier. So, what is smite sewing? Smite sewing is we sew the pages first in groups of pages before we glue it to the spine or to the board. So that's why your book will lay flatter. And this is one of the things I like doing.
Hmm.
I do this to my book
Yep.
and it's not falling apart. But one of the things that we've done is we started using this paper is a
Hmm.
thicker paper. It's a
Okay.
cover stock.
Hmm.
And so when you turn it, it still turns like a board book
Hmm.
and definitely will not rip. And then we found a material that we're testing,
Hmm.
and it's not board book. It looks like paper or cloth, really, really thin paper or cloth.
Hmm.
And again, I'm sorry I don't have it with me.
Oh, no worries.
but whatever you do with it, you cannot tear it. So it's actually perfect for kids who are even, not even toddlers, for your babies. You're less than 1 year old. So those are the things that we try to do is find alternatives because the production of board books here in the U.S. is very limited.
Yeah, and to caveat off of that as well, that I when I've from what I've like learned, right, when it comes to producing that, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but when you go with the board book, do they do on typical, is it no less than 1,000 books, or is it no less than 500? I know it to be in a large quantity.
So there are some companies in the U.S. that work differently, right? They will say they're a publishing company, and then they can print your book, but they really don't have a printing plant.
Hmm.
They're actually outsourcing it. A lot of the online book printing do that. I don't want to name names, but they're not really printing company, but they would contract. So the gauge for me is, and I will be very honest, if I can keep the business in the US, I will do it
Hmm.
because I think we need to fuel our own economy.
Yes.
At the same time, also, is that people might think that it's printing a book is a manufacturing process, so you could just hire anyone, but it needs training, especially on cover materials, especially on making sure the color quality is good. It takes about 1.5 years apprenticeship,
Hmm.
to work in a book printing manufacturing plant. So if our plants in the US do not have jobs, right, then what happens is we keep, companies will lay off and then they will hire and then they will retrain. And that's where the consistency, you know, suffers.
I see.
And so, with Johnson's and with the printing companies that I work with, we really do our very best to keep our people so that we keep that consistency.
No, for sure. And one thing I've noticed, and I'm in agreement with you in terms of like funding ourselves, right? One of the biggest things that I've noticed when it comes to books and you printing the books is the quality, and going through different sources and comparing it, right? You're not going to bring a book that has let me see. So in comparison, right? Amazon's KDP versus a book that I've gotten from Barnes and Noble Press, and I understand Barnes and Noble Press prints in the same uses the same printer company that Ingram uses.
Ingram uses.
Right. And but I've done a comparison to the two in terms of the quality. I have noticed that the one, at least in the books that I've used, the quality seems a bit better with what Ingram has in comparison to Amazon. So with you, right, and I saw it in the paper on that first cover page of that. Well, it's a beautiful cover, by the way. And for those who are listening to just the audio only version of this
Mhm.
episode, what Jenebeth was showing earlier was the quality of her book, and that's important, and this is significantly important, especially if you're giving that book and you're selling it yourself to somebody. Let's say if you have the option of going to a book festival or a book fair and
Yep.
you want to give books away, whether you're doing it for free or as a giveaway or as an add-on, or however you decide to, to distribute your book, those are the type of books that I would personally prefer to have at these festivals. If I'm going to sign it and give it to somebody, it needs to be of the best quality. So the reason why I bring it up is because yours looked like it had sufficient quality, and of course I can't tell, but I certainly take you at your word. It did look at just looking at that first and the
Right.
thickness of the page,
Yeah,
but
smart sewing especially for children's books, especially for hardcover books. S- So there's different binding, right? And that's kind of one of the things that when you're determining what type of book you, you want to produce, you have to look at what paper are you going to use.
Mhm.
Are you going to use uncoated stock? Are you going to use coated stock? Are you going to use gloss, matte, or any other type of paper? What kind of binding are you going to use? Are you going to just do adhesive case binding? Are you going to do smite sewing? And then for perfect bound, right? There are different kinds of perfect bound.
Right.
Some printers use a different type of glue, and that's why after a while the book falls apart, and then
Right.
for us, we use a PUR glue, which in layman's term is like a stronger glue that you're almost applying, double glue.
Oh, wow.
And then the third that we offer, which not a lot of printers offer, is we call a sewn with
Mhm.
paper drawn on cover. So it's almost like as I said, we sew the pages first in groups of, you know, 16, 8, and 4, and then we glue it to the board. So here's an example of that. I know
Okay.
that you're probably not going to see it, but if you look at this,
Okay.
right, you
Yep.
could see that it's sewn. There's groups of pages that are sewn before it's glued. Typically, a soft cover is just you'll just see it all glued there,
Right.
right?
Yep.
So that's one of the things that we offer. And again, I don't want to make this sound as a sales pitch. I'm sharing this so that when you talk to a printer,
Mhm.
you can ask these questions.
Right.
What kind of binding? Or when you see their quotation and you look under binding, you will know what that means. If
Right.
it says adhesive case bind, that means it's only using glue.
Hmm.
If they don't put and then you can go further, okay, what kind of adhesive are you using?
Hmm.
Right? Because that will determine if that glue is sturdy or not. Um, and then so smite sewing though is not a lot of printers in the US can do it. Yes, they can, but
Hmm.
not at a very affordable price. The reason why Johnson's can offer a very cost-effective pricing
Hmm.
in Smite Sewn books is because we're one of the largest manufacturer of yearbooks,
Hmm.
and even with hardcover, and that's the reason why we have that capability and that bindery machine in the plant that we could offer it at a cost-effective price.
No, for sure. And I want people to know like the importance of this, right? What she's giving you all the information as well, because like you mentioned, you're not trying to make it a sales pitch. So please note that what she's saying is really to educate you all on making informed decisions, because you'll notice, especially if you're utilizing different platforms to print the same book, you'll notice that the price to the print cost
Yes.
is different. And you're wondering why some offer premium paper versus just
Mm-hmm.
standard, or color versus standard, or color or premium, cream color versus white, and then 70 cents versus 50 cents. And it's really, it can become tricky, especially if you have zero experience and you're just hopping into it. And for the most part, most people generally will start with Amazon and get their feet wet. But if they're really serious about doing this, they sink their teeth into it, and they're really they feel so just motivated to be able to move in this profession in a professional manner, even as a self-published author. And there's space for that too. There's self-published authors who are more successful than track published authors, and vice versa. But regardless, it's a business, and you have to look at it at that standpoint. And you have to make informed decisions. So thank you so much for sharing that information here.
And I think that key, especially for children's book, is the paper.
Hmm.
I mean, you've mentioned number one is for children's book, you want durability,
Yes.
right? For children's book, it's a picture book.
Hmm.
And therefore, you
Yeah.
need to have high quality printing. So you've spent all this money on having beautiful illustrations,
Hmm.
right? But how will that come to life
Hmm.
if the printing is not at par,
Right.
right? So, and then the choice of paper can affect how the print quality will be.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a common comments that I get from self-published authors who print with Ingram. Again, there's a space for that. Don't
Mm-hmm.
get me wrong. But what they're saying is, how come the printing of my books is very muted? It's not vibrant.
Yeah.
And the number one difference with that is because Ingram only uses uncoated stock.
Mm.
And then they only use 70 pound.
Yeah.
So an uncoated stock, the ink absorbs more. So your picture or your images then becomes muted and washed out.
Yeah.
Then the other thing too is not all printing press are made equal.
All right. I was literally thinking that not all sizes are created equal. Yeah.
So there are printing presses or machines that are lower end. There are printing presses and machines that are higher end.
Yeah.
Then the difference also is how they manage their color profiles and the mixing of the inks.
Right.
And one of the things that you may want to ask is, are you G7 certified? What that means is their master printers, they have a master color person in the plant that went through training and get this certification, which is an industry standard.
Yes.
So color is very important. So with me, when I say I do make the recommendations
Mhm.
for children's book, I will not use anything less than 80 pound.
Oh, that's
And
good to know.
yeah, I will
Yeah.
not use anything less than 80 pound just because of the illustrations. A lot of time there's a lot of ink coverage,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then again, for durability. I mean, when kids are like turning those pages
Right.
and rereading, you want it to last. Number two is one of the things that I do is I make recommendation depending on the artwork because the artwork might call for gloss paper,
Right.
but the artwork might call for a matte paper.
Mm-hmm.
Now, gloss and matte, right, are still coated paper. The difference is matte paper is lightly coated, so it
Mm.
doesn't have a lot of sheen or reflection on it.
I see.
So those are the key things that that paper is really very important on children's book.
Yeah. I'm glad you distinguished that and you broke that down just down to a T, in fact. The knowledge of going into it, because I've also wondered as well, just especially starting out, I learned that outsourcing and going through other print companies might be to the benefit of the author if it has better quality than where they're getting it from, generally like KDP or Ingram, right? But for those who are curious, right, they listen to what you're saying and they feel sold on the idea, like, you know what? Jenebeth is really on to something. I want to go with her. So to that, obviously it's, there's price tags affiliated with it, because there's that, it's a business piece, which again, this wasn't meant to be like a sales thing, but people are going to be interested in partnering with you just based off of this. And so what does your price range look like for a
So,
children's book?
right. So I think before I go to price range is one of the things that authors need to know is how many copies are you thinking of printing?
Hmm.
Because the quantity will determine what type of printing method
Right.
will any printer offer you, right?
Hmm.
So Ingram Spark and Amazon are printing digitally. So what is digital printing? Digital printing is, think of your laser printer.
Mm-hmm.
The ink goes directly on the paper, right? They use liquid ink, either a toner or inkjet. Um, the advantage of digital printing is that you could still get um, good price for a small quantity.
Mm-hmm.
And these on demand that you can only print one book, right? That's all done digitally.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, if you're thinking of printing at least 1,000, that's where offset printing comes in.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference between an offset printing is offset printing uses plates.
Mm-hmm.
So each of the color that's used for printing, which is CMYK, and I don't want to get technical, but if you want me to explain that better, I could. But each of the CMYK color is a plate is created.
Mm-hmm.
And then that goes into a rubber, and that rubber is rolled into the paper. So
Mm-hmm.
the ink does not go directly on the paper. But what it does is it really creates a more crisp
Mm-hmm.
and high quality printing, especially for color.
I see.
Um, and then digital printing, the way they do the cost
Mm-hmm.
is per clicks, right? That's
Uh-huh.
why I would say there are digital printers that could still give you cost effective pricing up to
Mm-hmm.
1,000. But what I've found out is anything that's over 1,000, offset printing really would be your best route to go.
Okay.
So I would give you a comparison. So hold on, let me let me get my so for example, for digital printing,
Mm-hmm.
if you want to print about 100 copies, your price would be between, high $6 to mid $7. Actually, Ingram Spark's price for 100 is $7.81.
Okay.
But the difference is Ingram is using 70-pound uncoated stock.
Mm-hmm.
I will be using 100-pound coated stock. You have a choice of a matte or a gloss. Their color printing would be just the basic, although I know now that Ingram has what they call an ultra premium um, printing, but the price is very high. So you're actually for the $7, say $7.19 for 100, you're getting the ultra premium or even better printing of Ingram with us. And then, we all very know that if there are issues, you have to go through an 800 customer service number.
Right.
With us, you have a dedicated contact, and that would be me.
Yeah, yeah,
So you would have like 24/7 access.
for sure.
And then with Ingram and Amazon, what typically you do is you upload it, right? And
Right.
it's actually a machine who checks it.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much the machine is just checking if it's the right size and all that. It's not going to tell you, oh, this is really off. We need to check it, right?
Right.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
with us, it's both a machine and a human person pre-flighting your files.
Mm-hmm.
And the difference also is if there is something that needs to be revised and your file is something that we can tweak ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
then we will do it. Right? And then, of course, with Ingram, everything that they do is adhesive case bind. While you have an option of a smite sewn,
Mm-hmm.
if you print 1,000 or more. Ingram doesn't print end sheets. Our digital printing, we don't have capability for end sheets, but the offset printing, we could print end sheets. And I don't know whether I need to explain what end sheets is.
No, no, you're good. You're good on that.
So then, for offset printing, so for digital printing, there may be a difference in price in 100, 200, 300, but you're talking about cents.
Hmm.
Right, so maybe 100 will probably cost you about $7.19. 200 will cost you $7.14.
Hmm.
300, will cost you about $6.96. And Ingram is giving that to you at $7.81 for 100 to up to, I think, 500. Now, when you go to the offset on a higher quantity, like say, let's start with 1,000. 1,000 will be around $4.50 to $4.99.
Hmm.
And then a 2,000 will be $3.59. Now, Ingram is still offering $7.41 for 1,000 books. And same thing with, I think, Book Baby and all that.
Hmm.
Um,
Oh, yeah, Book Baby's another one I've heard
right,
of.
Book Baby's another one. In fact, I have a customer who printed the first print run with Book Baby, and then after that, she said she paid $30 for 500 copies.
Oh, 30 a piece.
30 a piece. So, so offset will, is if you have the financial investment, if you have what I call a growth mindset,
Hmm.
and if you have a comprehensive marketing plan and you're really willing to work it, then it is better for you to go with 1,000.
Yeah.
Now, there will be a question on overseas pricing and US pricing. To be fully transparent, US cannot compete with overseas pricing.
Hmm.
If that is just your main factor, fine, we could do overseas pricing. The only thing about overseas is that there's a lot of uncontrollable factors,
Uh-huh.
right? So if you're willing to accept the risk of all the uncontrollable factors, for example, weather delays, congestion in the Panama Canal.
Hmm.
At one point, there were piracy.
Right.
And then now we're actually there's uncertainty on tariffs.
Yeah.
So those are the things to consider. My customers who prints about, I would say, if they're very price sensitive, if they're printing 5,000, 10,000,
Hmm.
yeah, I will, give them an overseas pricing.
Yeah.
But if you're thinking of 1,000 or less, or even 5,000 or less, we can work out something. We can crunch the numbers, we can do a lot of pencil pushing in order to help you get to where you want to land and still have a high quality book.
Okay. And so to that, right? And to that, I'll just ask you this last question before I let you go. So to that, how can people reach out to you if they want to either ask you questions or want to do some sort of collaborations with you or do business with you? What's the best point of contact? And I'll make sure that what you say, the information, is in the description of the video and in the audio recording as well. So it's a direct link.
So what you could, it's going to be Jenebeth.Ortiz at jostens.com would be one. And then, phone number. I give out my phone number.
No.
310-623-7745. And that is actually the best way to contact me. And I also work with people and what their method of communication is. If you want to text, you can text. If you want to email, you can email. If you want a phone call, a phone call. One of the things that I do that's different from any other printers is that I am not going to give you a quotation until we have a consultation.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's important.
That's important, and the consultation is complimentary. But I think a lot of things can be accomplished in that consultation. And the other thing is, I've mentioned earlier, what I'm looking for is a partnership.
Yep.
If what you're looking for is just price, dirt cheap, I'm probably not the right person for you.
Right.
But if you're looking for someone who will be equally invested in your project and will take it as my own, then, then we can talk.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure that there will certainly be questions for that.
Yeah.
So are you okay again with, well, of course with the email, but are you okay with me putting your phone number
Yeah,
in the description as well?
definitely.
Okay,
Definitely.
okay, cool. So
And
you
then
all,
for social media, which is, just so that we have a presence, it's at Edge Books for Instagram, and then also on Facebook. So if you prefer to communicate that way, we could do that. Just as a closing, one of the things that set us apart, or one of the things that I can offer, I talked about a very crowded marketplace,
right.
right? So how can you make your book stand out? Many of my children's book authors now, they do embellishments on their cover. So an example is, if you want embossing, if you want foil stamping, if you want glitter,
Oh, that's nice.
if you want glitter, if you want a different kind of lamination, like more of a pearlescent lamination,
Ooh.
if you want
Oh,
foil stamping, we can all do that.
that
And
looks really good. Sorry, I didn't
right,
mean to cut you off. That looks really good.
yeah. And the advantage is we do it all in house. We don't
Mm.
outsource this. We have the equipment right in one under one roof.
Yeah. Do you also get them so is it just that you all print and you just give to the member, or do you all upload it to a platform?
So for the files, you mean?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so the files, the way we work with our files is we do have a WeTransfer site that you can upload your file, but at the same time, if you also want to email us a link, we could do that, although we prefer that it be uploaded. And the first step of the proofing process for us is I myself have a graphic artist on board, on
Hmm.
payroll. And before she even submits that to production for the official proofing, she checks it for mechanical.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times people forgets to bleed. And then a big difference is with Amazon and Ingram, they don't require you to have bleeds on all four sides.
Hmm.
But for a commercial printer, that's key.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So things like that, or your images are low resolution. So before we submit it, we look at that. Your one of the key things for at least for us, even both for digital and offset, is that a lot of times people build the text or the words in four color black.
Hmm.
There will be registration issues if it's built on four color black. So those are the things that we check before we submit it for proofing.
Okay, and so just to make sure that I get this too, just in case people have questions, is you all don't necessarily upload to places like Amazon and to Barnes and Noble. You
Oh,
all, you,
oh, I see what you're saying. So the printing company doesn't, but Edge Books, if that's something that you want us to do, that's a service that we can offer,
okay, no, that's
and
good.
for very minimal.
Okay, cool. That that way, if they have any question, they're like, oh, they print and they do this. Let's hop
Yeah.
on board. But okay, but thank you for clarifying that.
And we actually, what's this? Because I have a graphic artist on board, and I have people who sub that I subcontract or are independent contractors. If you need formatting and book design, that's something that we can offer. And then if you print with us, you get a very deep discount on the formatting.
Oh, perfect. Well, thank you so much for breaking that down, Jenebeth. Hey, that's pretty much all I have time for now that I think about it. I'm so sorry to cut this short, even
No,
though
no,
I think
no,
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 we
that's
didn't even cut it short. We hit 40 minutes. So that's perfect.
cool. Well, thank you. I appreciate the time, and I hope that with the little information I've shared, that it's beneficial and valuable to your audience.
Oh, it's not just valuable to them. It's valuable to me too because I'm thinking that last cover you showed me with the it just it. I have a thing for colors and it looked nice. I'll have to talk to you offline about it, but it looked really good. I love this presentation. Thank you so much for your time. And
Well,
uh,
thank you.
yes, ma'am. Thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to tune into today's episode. It was wonderful. And that information brought you all to school with it. So, hey, you all take care. Well, I'll catch you next time.
Bye.